There is a country sitting quietly at the crossroads of Europe and Asia that has been one of the world's best-kept relocation secrets for years. Stunning mountain landscapes. Ancient history going back thousands of years. Some of the most unique food and wine culture on the planet. An incredibly welcoming population. One of the lowest tax rates in the world. And until recently, one of the most relaxed immigration policies of any country on earth. That country is Georgia. Not the state in the American South. The Republic of Georgia, a small, extraordinary nation nestled between the Caucasus Mountains and the Black Sea, bordered by Russia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. In 2026, Georgia is still one of the most attractive relocation destinations in the world, but the rules have changed significantly, and if you're planning to move here this year, you need to understand those changes before you book your flight. Because what worked for digital nomads and remote workers in 2022, 2023, or even 2024 is no longer the full picture. This video is going to walk you through everything. Visa options for your nationality. The new work permit rules that came into effect in 2026. How to get residency. What it actually costs to live here. And whether Georgia is truly the right move for you. Let's get into it. Before we talk visas and paperwork, let's quickly establish why Georgia is worth your attention in the first place, because a lot of people stumble across this country and genuinely can't believe what they find. Geography and location. Georgia sits in the South Caucasus, that unique part of the world where Europe ends and Asia begins. The country is roughly the size of Ireland or the state of South Carolina. In under an hour from Tbilisi, you can be standing in the Greater Caucasus mountain range. In 3 hours, you can be swimming in the Black Sea. The landscape variety is extraordinary. The capital, Tbilisi. Tbilisi is the beating heart of the country. It's a city of about 1.1 million people, but it doesn't feel like a megacity. The old town, with its vine-covered wooden balconies, Persian-influenced architecture, sulfur bathhouses, and Orthodox churches, is one of the most visually distinctive urban environments anywhere in the world. The newer parts of the city have a modern, lively cafe and restaurant culture that wouldn't feel out of place in Berlin or Istanbul. And the cost of living, while no longer as extreme as it was before 2022, remains significantly lower than most of Europe. The food and wine culture. Georgian cuisine is genuinely unlike anything else. Khachapuri, cheese-filled bread, is a national institution. Khinkali, dumplings filled with spiced meat broth, are eaten everywhere. And Georgia is one of the world's oldest wine-producing nations, using ancient clay vessels called kvevri that date back 8,000 years. If you appreciate food and drink, this country will make you very happy. The people. Georgians are known for extraordinary hospitality. There's a concept called guest is from God, tamada, which reflects a deeply ingrained cultural belief that welcoming strangers generously is a sacred duty. Expats consistently cite the warmth of local people as one of the biggest unexpected pleasures of living here. The tax system. And then there's the tax situation, which we'll cover in full detail later, but the headline is this: Georgia operates one of the lowest and simplest tax regimes in the world. Registered freelancers and entrepreneurs can access a small business status with a flat 1% tax on gross turnover. For anyone running an online business, doing remote work, or building a startup, that number is extraordinary compared to virtually anywhere in the Western world. These are the reasons Georgia keeps attracting people from all over the world. Now let's talk about how to actually get here and stay here legally in 2026. Let's start with the most important question: can you enter Georgia without a visa? The answer depends entirely on your passport, and Georgia has one of the most generous visa-free policies in the world. Citizens who can enter visa-free. As of 2026, citizens of over 100 countries can enter Georgia without a visa at all. This includes all European Union and Schengen area countries, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Japan, South Korea, Israel, Turkey, and many others. If you hold a passport from one of these countries, you simply show up at the airport or border crossing, present your valid passport, and you're in. No application. No fee. No appointment. The permitted stay for most visa-free nationalities is up to 1 year. Yes, 1 full year. This is one of the most generous visa-free stays of any country in the world, and it's a big reason why Georgia attracted such a massive wave of remote workers and digital nomads between 2020 and 2024. For some nationalities, the visa-free stay is 90 days within a 180-day period, similar to the Schengen zone rules. Always verify your specific country's conditions on Georgia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs website, as the exact duration varies by nationality. The third country visa trick. Here is something many people don't know. Even if your country is not on the visa-free list, you may still be able to enter Georgia without a separate Georgian visa, if you hold a valid visa or residence permit from certain other countries. These include a valid Schengen visa. You can enter Georgia visa-free for up to 90 days. A valid US B1, B2 visa or US green card. Same, 90 days. A valid UK visa, 90 days residence permits from EU, US, or UK. This means, for example, that a Nigerian passport holder who has a valid Schengen visa, or a valid US B2 tourist visa, can enter Georgia without applying for a separate Georgian visa. This is an important provision that many people miss. However, and this is important, there is a specific condition for some nationalities. For citizens of Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic of Congo, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Ghana, Morocco, Nigeria, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria, Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, and Yemen who want to use a third country visa to enter Georgia, the third country visa must be valid for at least 1 year prior to arrival. So a brand new Schengen visa that was just issued is not sufficient. It must have been valid for at least a year before you travel to Georgia under this provision. New in 2026, mandatory travel insurance. This is a critical update that took effect on January 1, 2026. All foreign nationals entering Georgia are now required to hold valid travel medical insurance for the full duration of their stay. This is no longer optional. If you arrive without proof of travel insurance, you can be denied entry or face complications. Make sure your insurance covers medical treatment in Georgia before you travel. If your country is not on the visa-free list and you don't have a qualifying third country visa, you'll likely need to apply for a Georgian eVisa before you travel. What is the Georgia eVisa? The Georgian eVisa is an online visa that allows eligible nationalities to apply without visiting an embassy. The entire process is digital. You apply through the official Georgian government portal, e-visa.gov.ge, and if approved, you receive your visa by email. You do not need to mail your passport anywhere. Who can apply for an eVisa? Georgia's eVisa is available to citizens of a significant number of countries across Asia, Africa, the Americas, and elsewhere. The types of eVisa available include Tourist eVisa, for leisure travel, sightseeing, visiting family. Business eVisa, for business visits, conferences, and meetings. Both types are generally issued for stays of 30 to 90 days and can be single or multiple entry. How to apply, step by step. Step 1. Go to the official Georgian eVisa portal at e-visa.gov.ge. Be careful of third-party websites that charge additional fees to submit the same application. Step 2. Select your nationality, passport type, and purpose of travel. Step 3. Fill in your personal and travel information, name exactly as it appears on your passport, passport number, intended arrival date, accommodation details. Step 4. Upload a recent passport-size photo and a scanned copy of your passport biodata page. Step 5. Pay the visa fee. The fee varies depending on nationality and visa type, so check the portal for the current amount. Step 6. Wait for your email. Processing typically takes between 3 and 5 business days, though it can sometimes be faster. Apply at least 2 weeks before your intended travel date to be safe. Step 7. Upon approval, print your eVisa confirmation and carry it with your passport when you travel. What to carry at the border? Even though your visa is digital, border officers will want to see your printed or digital eVisa confirmation. A valid passport minimum 3 months validity beyond your planned stay, proof of accommodation, hotel booking, Airbnb confirmation, or host invitation return or onward travel ticket, proof of sufficient funds for your stay or travel, medical insurance documents. Mandatory from January 2026. Important limitation. The eVisa is for short stays only, typically a maximum of 90 days. If you're planning to live in Georgia long-term, you will need to transition to a residence permit, which we'll cover shortly. Now let's talk about long-term legal status in Georgia, starting with the D visa, also known as the immigration visa. What is the D visa? The D visa is Georgia's long-stay visa, designed for people who intend to stay in Georgia for purposes beyond tourism, including work, study, business, and family reunification. Unlike the C visa for short visits, the D visa is a pathway into the formal immigration system and is typically the first step toward obtaining a Georgian residence permit. Types of D visa. The main D visa categories relevant to people relocating to Georgia include D1, Work Labor Immigration Visa, for foreign nationals who have obtained a right to work permit from Georgia's State Employment Promotion Agency. This is the most relevant category following the 2026 work permit reforms. You cannot simply arrive and start working. You now need the right to work authorization first, and then the D1 visa follows. D2, Study Visa, for students enrolled in a Georgian educational institution. You'll need an acceptance letter from a Georgian university or school. D3, Family Reunification, for family members of Georgian citizens or permanent residents. D4, Property Ownership, if you purchase real estate in Georgia above the qualifying threshold, currently $150,000 after March 2026, you may be eligible for a short-term residence permit based on property ownership. D5, Investment, for investors making qualifying capital commitments in Georgia. How to apply for a D visa. In most cases, D visa applications are submitted at Georgian embassies or consulates in your home country. However, for certain categories, particularly the D1 work visa, the process now requires first obtaining the right to work permit, which is applied for online through Georgia's labor migration portal before you can request the visa itself. The processing time for D visas is typically 10 to 30 business days. Fees and specific requirements vary by category. Okay, this section is arguably the most important part of this video for anyone planning to work or run a business in Georgia. Because the rules changed fundamentally in 2026, and a lot of the information circulating online is outdated. What was Georgia like before 2026? Before March 2026, Georgia was essentially a paradise for remote workers, digital nomads, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. You could enter the country visa-free, register as an individual entrepreneur within a day at the Public Service Hall, get small business tax status with a 1% rate, open a bank account, and start operating your business, all without any formal work authorization. There was no separate right to work requirement. Your visa or visa-free stay was sufficient. This is what made Georgia famous in the remote work world from 2020 onwards, and why tens of thousands of location-independent professionals relocated there. What changed on March 1, 2026? On March 1, 2026, Georgia introduced a mandatory right to labor activity, essentially a formal work permit, for most foreign nationals without permanent residence. This is based on Government Resolution No. 70, passed in February 2026. This is a significant structural change. Under the new rules, the following categories of foreigners must obtain a right to work permit before conducting any paid activity in Georgia. Employees working for Georgian companies, local or remote self-employed individuals and freelancers, individual entrepreneurs conducting business in Georgia, business owners and company directors. This means the old just arrive and start working approach is no longer legal. Working without a right to work permit can result in a fine of $2,000, roughly $700, for both the employer and the foreign worker, doubling for repeat offenses. The April 2026 amendment, important update. However, and this is critical, just 6 weeks later, in April 2026, the Georgian Parliament passed Law No. 1509, which amended the work permit law and carved out several important exemptions. As of April 2026, you do not need a separate right to work permit if you fall into one of these categories. You work remotely for a foreign employer, not a Georgian company, and you don't perform any local activity in Georgia itself. You are the founder or director of a Georgian LLC and are running your own business. You are working on a short-term project for a foreign company while physically in Georgia. This is very good news for the classic digital nomad profile. If you work entirely for overseas clients, receive income from abroad, and are simply living in Georgia while doing so, the April amendment provides important protection. For freelancers serving foreign clients, you generally do not need the right to work permit as long as your work is directed at foreign clients and doesn't constitute local economic activity in Georgia. However, given how new these rules are and how frequently the specific guidance is being updated, always verify your specific situation with a Georgian immigration lawyer before assuming you're exempt. The law is still being interpreted in practice. If you do need the work permit, if you are employed by a Georgian company, or if your situation requires formal work authorization, here is how the process works. For employees, your Georgian employer applies for the right to work on your behalf through the labor migration portal at labormigration.moh.gov.ge. They submit their company registration details, your passport copy, your employment contract, and a declaration of intent. The review process takes up to 30 calendar days. For self-employed individuals and freelancers who do require the permit, you apply directly and must provide either a revenue service turnover certificate for an existing business, or a detailed business plan for a new one, including planned investment and projected turnover. Once the right to work is granted, if you are already in Georgia, you have 10 calendar days to apply for your work residence permit. If you are outside Georgia, you have 30 days to apply for a D1 immigration visa. These timelines are strict. The IT sector advantage. If you work in information technology, Georgia has a specific IT residence permit that was introduced in late 2025. To qualify, you need a minimum of 2 years of verified IT work experience and annual income of at least $25,000. The benefit: IT sector work residence permits are issued for up to 3 years, significantly longer than the standard 1-year work permit. This is an excellent option for tech professionals. Transition period. If you were already working in Georgia with an active labor status before March 1, 2026, you have until January 1, 2027 to obtain the right to work and the corresponding residence permit. Don't wait until the last minute. The process takes time. Let's now walk through the main pathways to legal residence in Georgia in 2026. This is where your long-term future in the country gets formalized. Pathway 1. Work residence permit, most common. This is the most widely used route to legal residence for foreign professionals and entrepreneurs. After obtaining your right to work authorization, you apply for a work residence permit at the Georgian Public Service Hall, also known as the Justice House. Documents required: passport and copyright to work authorization document, employment contract, if employed, or business registration documents, if self-employed. For self-employed individuals, evidence of business activity or a business plan. 2 passport photos. Application fee, $210 GL for standard processing, approximately $75, or $330 GL for expedited. The work residence permit is typically issued for 1 year and can be renewed. Note: the previous requirement of 50,000 GL annual turnover for IE holders was amended in April 2026. New criteria are being codified, so check the latest requirements at the time of your application. Pathway 2. Investment residence permit. This is the premium pathway. If you invest $300,000 or more in Georgia, through real estate, capital contribution to a Georgian company, term deposits, or other verifiable investment, you are eligible for an investment residence permit. Key advantages: it runs for 5 years initially, with a pathway to permanent residence at the end. Holders are explicitly exempt from the new right-to-work requirement. This is a significant benefit for high-net-worth individuals and serious investors. Pathway 3. Real Estate Residence Permit. If you purchase property in Georgia valued at a minimum of $150,000, note this threshold increased from $100,000 in March 2026, you are eligible for a short-term residence permit based on property ownership. This permit does not automatically grant you the right to work, but it keeps you legal as a resident. Properties purchased before March 1, 2026 at the old $100,000 threshold still qualify for existing permit holders. Pathway 4. Study Residence Permit. For those enrolled in Georgian universities or educational institutions, a study residence permit is available. You'll need an enrollment letter, tuition payment proof, and standard documentation. This is a common route for international students, particularly from Asia and Africa. Pathway 5. IT Residence Permit. As mentioned earlier, 2 years of IT experience and $25,000 annual income qualifies you for Georgia's dedicated IT residence permit, valid for 3 years. This is currently one of the most attractive pathways for tech professionals. Pathway 6. Family Residence Permit. If you have a Georgian citizen spouse or a close family member who is a Georgian permanent resident, you can apply for a family residence permit. Supporting documents include marriage certificate, birth certificates, and proof of relationship. Pathway to Permanent Residence. Georgia offers permanent residence after 6 consecutive years of legal residence in the country on temporary residence permits. Holders of investment residence permits can apply after 5 years. Permanent residents are exempt from the right-to-work requirement, meaning once you achieve permanent residency, you can work or run a business freely without any separate authorization. Now for the section most of you have been waiting for: what does it actually cost to live in Georgia in 2026? The honest answer is, more than it did in 2019 or 2021, but still significantly less than most of Europe, the UK, or North America. Georgia had a sharp cost of living spike in 2022 when a large number of Russians relocated there following the Ukraine war, which drove up rents considerably. Those prices have since stabilized, though they haven't returned to pre-2022 levels. What remains is a country that is genuinely affordable by global standards, without being the ultra-cheap destination it once was. Let's break it down category by category. Rent. Rent is your biggest expense, typically 40 to 50% of your total monthly budget. In Tbilisi, here's what you can expect to pay monthly. City Center, Vake, Vera, Old Town. 1-bedroom apartment cost $500 to $750, 2-bedroom apartment, mid-range areas, Suburtalo, Mtatsminda. 1-bedroom apartment cost $400 to $600, 2-bedroom apartment cost $800 to $1,200. In Batumi, Georgia's Black Sea coastal resort city, rents in the center range from $400 to $600 for a 1-bedroom. In summer, Batumi becomes a popular beach destination and prices go up significantly. In Tbilisi, prices remain more stable year-round. Practical tip: expats who rent through international platforms often pay 20 to 30% more than those who rent directly from local landlords. Learning basic Georgian, building local connections, or working with a local property agent will save you money. Most landlords expect payment in cash or via local bank transfer, and leases are typically monthly or annual. Food. Georgian food is where you truly start to appreciate how affordable the country is. Local produce, fruit, vegetables, bread, and traditional meals are genuinely inexpensive. A meal at a casual local Georgian restaurant, $4 to $8 a khachapuri at a street bakery, under $2 a plate of khinkali, 10 pieces $3 to $6 coffee at a local cafe, $1.50 to $2.50 a meal at a mid-range restaurant, $10 to $20 a full dinner at a fine dining establishment, $30 to $60. Grocery shopping. If you buy predominantly local produce from farmers markets and local supermarkets, a single person can feed themselves comfortably for $150 to $250 per month. If you rely heavily on imported products, Western brands, specialty ingredients, your grocery bill will be higher, comparable to European pricing. The main supermarket chains in Tbilisi are Carrefour, Europroducts, Nikora, and Goodwill. Farmers markets. particularly the Deserta Bazaar, are excellent for fresh, cheap produce. Transport. Transport is one of the cheapest areas of life in Tbilisi. Metro single journey, approximately 37 cents, 1 jul, monthly metro pass, approximately $14 bus, same card similar pricing Bolt taxi app, 5 kilometers ride $2 to $4 monthly transport budget, metro plus occasional Bolt $20 to $60. Most expats who live in central Tbilisi find they can manage entirely on public transport and walking. The metro system is efficient and covers most of the city. Owning a car in central Tbilisi is actually considered more of a burden than a benefit. Parking is difficult and expensive, and Bolt is cheap enough to make car ownership unnecessary for most people. Utilities. Basic utilities for an 85 square meters apartment: electricity, heating, water, garbage, approximately $40 to $70 per month in regular seasons, higher in winter. A note on heating: Georgian apartments, particularly older Soviet-era buildings, can have unreliable or absent central heating. Many apartments use gas heaters or electric heaters, which can push utility costs higher in winter, November to March. When choosing an apartment, ask specifically about heating. This is one of the most common unexpected expenses for new arrivals. Internet, $15 to $25 per month for fast fiber broadband. Georgia has excellent internet infrastructure, which is one of the reasons it became popular with remote workers. Mobile phone plan, $10 to $20 per month for a local SIM with data. Healthcare. Georgia has both public and private healthcare. The public system is technically universal but can involve long waits and language barriers. Most expats use private clinics, which are affordable and generally of good quality in Tbilisi. Private GP visit, $15 to $40 private specialist consultation, $30 to $80 dental checkup and basic treatment, $20 to $60. Travel health insurance or a local health insurance plan is now mandatory for foreigners entering Georgia from January 2026. A local health insurance plan costs approximately $25 to $35 per month and is strongly recommended. Emergency hospitalization at a private hospital, while less common, can be expensive without insurance. Entertainment and social life. A beer at a local bar, $2 to $3 a cocktail in a mid-range bar, $4 to $7 cinema ticket, $4 to $8 monthly gym membership, $20 to $50 weekend day trip within Georgia, transport plus accommodation $50 to $150. Georgia has an active social scene, particularly in Tbilisi. The city has world-class nightlife, including Fabrika, a converted textile factory turned creative hub, and numerous wine bars showcasing Georgian natural wines. Dining out is very affordable by Western standards, which means your social life does not need to destroy your budget. Overall monthly budget summary. These numbers are based on actual 2026 expat spending data and current market prices. Opening a bank account in Georgia is relatively straightforward for most foreigners, and it's an important step you should do early. Here's what you need to know. The main banks. The two dominant banks in Georgia are TBC Bank, the largest bank, with excellent digital banking and English language service Bank of Georgia, the second largest, also widely used by expats. Both offer multi-currency accounts, debit cards, and solid online banking platforms. What you need to open an account. For a basic account, most banks require your valid passport, a Georgian phone number, proof of address in Georgia, can be a rental contract or utility bill, in some cases, a source of funds declaration. Some nationalities face additional documentation requirements, particularly if you're from a country with stricter anti-money laundering screening. In these cases, you may be asked to show employment documents, proof of income, or a visa residence permit. Why opening a bank account matters. Beyond the obvious daily banking needs, a Georgian bank account is important for receiving payments from international clients, as a freelancer or IE holder, demonstrating turnover for residence permit applications, paying rent and utilities locally, accessing Georgian ATMs without international transaction fees. Open your account as early as possible after arriving in Georgia, don't leave it for weeks. As mentioned, Georgia introduced mandatory travel medical insurance for all foreign nationals from January 1, 2026. This is not optional. You must have it when you enter the country. For short-term visitors, standard international travel insurance that includes medical coverage is typically sufficient. Make sure the policy explicitly covers medical treatment in Georgia. For long-term residents, a local Georgian health insurance plan is strongly recommended. Plans from Georgian insurers like GPI Holding, Imedi-L, and RD start at approximately $25 to $35 per month for basic coverage. These plans cover routine consultations, emergency care, and hospitalization at private clinics. If you have a pre-existing medical condition, declare it when getting insurance and confirm your coverage carefully. One of Georgia's most powerful advantages for entrepreneurs, freelancers, and remote workers is its tax system, and specifically the small business status with its 1% flat tax on gross turnover. Here's how it works. Step 1. Register as an individual entrepreneur, i.e. At the Georgian Public Service Hall, you can register as an IE within a single day. The process is fast, inexpensive, and straightforward. Registration is required before you can access small business status. Step 2. Apply for small business status. Once registered as an IE at the Revenue Service, you can apply for small business status, which replaces the standard 20% personal income tax with a flat 1% tax on your gross annual turnover, provided your annual turnover stays below 500,000 GIL, approximately $180,000. Step 3. Receive income into your Georgian account. To demonstrate turnover and maintain your status, your income should flow through your Georgian business bank account. Step 4. File your tax declaration. Annual tax declarations are required. Georgia's Revenue Service portal makes this relatively manageable. The 1% rate is not available for all types of business activity. Some service categories are excluded. Confirm your specific activity is eligible with a local accountant or tax advisor. Important 2026 update. Following the March 2026 Right to Work reform, IE registration alone no longer grants the right to work in Georgia for foreign nationals. You must now also obtain the right to work authorization before operating your IE. The good news is that the April 2026 amendments mean most freelancers serving foreign clients are exempt from this requirement, but verify your specific situation. Other taxes worth knowing about. Corporate income tax, 15%, but only on distributed profits. Georgia uses an Estonian-style CIT system, VAT, 18%, applies to businesses with turnover above 100,000 GIL, dividend tax, 5% capital gains tax, 5%, with a 2-year property ownership exemption for real estate. Let's be honest. Georgia is genuinely wonderful in many ways, but it's not perfect, and you deserve a balanced picture before making a major life decision. Pros. 1. The cost of living remains very competitive compared to Western Europe, North America, and even most of Eastern Europe. You get a genuinely good quality of life at a fraction of the price. 2. The 1% tax rate is extraordinary for eligible entrepreneurs and freelancers. There is no comparable offer at this income level anywhere in the developed world. 3. The visa-free access for over 100 nationalities, and the very generous one-year stay provision, makes Georgia uniquely accessible as a base. 4. Tbilisi has developed genuinely excellent infrastructure for remote workers, fast internet, dozens of co-working spaces, cafes with strong Wi-Fi, and a vibrant international community. 5. The food and wine culture is a genuine lifestyle pleasure that consistently exceeds expectations. 6. Safety. Tbilisi consistently ranks among the safest capital cities in the world for daily life. 7. The natural beauty. Georgia has some of the most dramatic, accessible, and undervisited landscapes in the world. Kazbegi Mountain, the Kakheti wine region, the Svaneti Glacier valleys, the Black Sea coast, all within a few hours of the capital. Cons. 1. The immigration rules are more complex in 2026 than they were 2 or 3 years ago. The new work permit requirements add a layer of bureaucracy that didn't previously exist. If you're not well informed, you can find yourself in a legally unclear situation. 2. The language barrier is real. Georgian is one of the world's most unique and challenging languages. While English is reasonably common in expat areas of Tbilisi, you will encounter significant language barriers in daily life. Government offices, landlords, local markets, healthcare outside private clinics. Russian is more widely spoken than English among older Georgians. 3. Heating in winter. Georgian winters are genuinely cold, and many older apartments have inadequate heating systems. This is a very common complaint among new arrivals and can make winters uncomfortable and utility bills unexpectedly high. 4. Georgian drivers and road safety. If you're not used to it, traffic in Tbilisi will shock you. Road safety standards and driving behavior are significantly different from Western norms. This affects your day-to-day life more than you might expect. 5. Flying in and out of Georgia is not cheap or convenient. Tbilisi is not a major hub. Flights to Western Europe typically cost $150 to $400 round trip, and direct routes are limited. If you travel frequently for work or family, this becomes a significant ongoing cost. 6. Banking complications for some nationalities. While Georgian banks are generally accessible, nationals from certain countries with stricter AML scrutiny may face more documentation hurdles when opening accounts or receiving large international transfers. So is Georgia the right move for you in 2026? If you are a remote worker or freelancer serving foreign clients, Georgia remains one of the most attractive countries in the world to base yourself, particularly after the April 2026 amendment that exempts most foreign client freelancers from the new work permit requirement. Low taxes, affordable living, visa-free access for most passports, and a genuinely pleasant quality of life make the case compelling. If you are a digital nomad who wants to test the country before committing, simply enter on your visa-free stay or eVisa, live there for a few months, experience the city, understand the community, and then decide whether to formalize your status. Many people find that a few weeks in Tbilisi answers all their questions. If you are planning to work for a Georgian employer or run a business with local clients, you need to navigate the new 2026 work permit rules carefully. Start the process before you arrive if possible, and work with a local immigration lawyer to ensure your situation is correctly structured. If you are an investor or high net worth individual, the investment residence permit and the real estate pathway, now at the $150,000 threshold, remain among the cleanest, most comprehensive routes to Georgian residency. Practical next steps. 1. Research your specific country's entry requirements on the official Georgian Ministry of Foreign Affairs website at geoconsul.gov.ge. Don't rely solely on travel blogs. Policies in 2026 are changing fast and your nationality's specific rules are what matter. 2. If you plan to work or run a business, consult a Georgian immigration lawyer before you arrive. The April 2026 amendments are still being interpreted in practice, and getting professional advice now saves significant stress later. 3. Arrange travel medical insurance before your flight. It is now mandatory from arrival. 4. Visit Georgia before committing long-term if at all possible. Almost everyone who visits Tbilisi for even a week comes away with a much clearer sense of whether the country suits them. 5. Connect with the existing expat community. There are active Facebook groups, Telegram communities, and in-person meetup groups for expats in Tbilisi, Batumi, and Kutaisi. These communities are incredibly helpful for navigating practical day-to-day life in ways that no visa guide can fully capture. Georgia is not a perfect country. It is a country in transition, modernizing rapidly, tightening its immigration rules, grappling with its geopolitical position between Russia and the West, and evolving faster than most guides can track. But for the right person, at the right stage of their life or career, relocating to Georgia in 2026 can be one of the best decisions they ever make. If this video helped you, please like it, share it with someone who's been thinking about relocating, and subscribe for more guides like this. We cover visas, relocation, and travel routes from every angle, and we're always making sure our information is current and accurate. I'll see you in the next one.